All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to we'll call the Des Moines Area Metropolitan Planning Organization Transportation Technical Committee August 3rd, 2023 meeting to order. So, looking for I know Tracy had sent out the agenda and minutes last week, I think on Friday. So I'm looking for a motion and a second for approving the agenda, please.
So moved, Huesman.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Second,
Rudy.
Oh, I think John Dossart got you, Rudy. So thanks, John. Thank you both. All right, we got again. If anyone's new, we are doing this meeting online, so we will not have everyone unmute and say aye, although that'd be fun. But we're just going to ask everyone to oppose, and when opposed to the motion, speak up. And so we have a motion and a second for approval of the agenda. Is there anyone opposed? All right, hearing none, we'll consider the agenda approved. Thank you. All right, next item. Again, the minutes were sent out last Friday. Looking for a motion and a second for the meeting minutes.
so moved, Dossart.
Okay, thanks, John.
Second.
Rudy.
I think Rudy got you, Chelsea. So thanks, Rudy. All right, we got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Any comments, questions? Okay, is there anyone opposed to the motion that's on the table, please? Approving the July 6th meeting minutes. All right, hearing none, we'll consider that motion approved. Thank you. All right, that brings us to item number 4, a report on federal fiscal year 2023-2026 Transportation Improvement Program amendments. Zach, are you available to speak on that one?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So we have had a request from the Iowa DOT to amend the TIP. This project is currently in federal fiscal year 2024, and they wanted to move it into the current TIP into federal fiscal year 2023. So it's a project on US 69. It doesn't have any MPO funds attached to it. It's National Highway, it's NHPP funds and PRF funds, and the federal amount on it's $400,000. They are requesting to move it into 2023 so that they can move forward with the project this year. I'd be happy to take any questions. Otherwise, this is before your approval.
Is actually Mark Miller with the City of Ankeny. Where on US Highway 69 is this?
Oh, that is a great question. In their TIP description they sent to us, they did not include a location. So I will have to reach out to them and request that, but I can get that information to you.
But Zach, you're looking for an approval of amendment, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just trying to see if I can find it in the tip there.
Pull it up as well.
I apologize, and I know we have an item to talk about that later. I think Gunner's talking about the website's it's completely revamped and new, so I'm not getting to it as quick as I'm sure it's easy to find. I just haven't had a chance to navigate the new website.
I'm working on it as well here,
Yeah.
Steve. I can.
Is there anybody on from the
It's not showing up with a description here. I'm gonna have to reach out to them and request that information from them.
Yeah, when I pulled up the tip, the project number it's not searching either, so. Zach, is this something we need approval today?
The DOT wants approval today. It
Okay.
has to go before executive policy. So if you guys don't feel comfortable making a recommendation based on not having the location, then we can just get that information out and have it for executive policy.
Okay. Is there anyone in the committee that's I guess I know we're missing information, but I guess subject to approval, it doesn't look like it's well, looks like they're requesting what 400,000 be moved up. And Zach, is there money available to move it up? I mean, I know we talked, I think, in the past that their funds were a little tight, but I mean, is there money available to move it up? Or
Yes, they're able to move this up.
Is there anybody on from the DOT that can answer the question?
Anyone from DOT on?
Yeah, this is fitting with the DOT. I'm not able to answer the question. I'm not familiar with the project. I'm currently looking through the STIP as well. I just have not located it. It might be something that we need to reach out to the Office of Program Management to find out. But if I find something, I'll let you know.
Okay, I found it. It's in Des Moines, north of a railroad viaduct to south of Fremont Street, northbound lane.
North of the railroad viaduct to south
South of Fremont Street.
Zach, what page is that on the STIP?
I'm looking in TPMS right now.
Okay, thanks.
This Rudy, I'd move to approve.
Thanks, Rudy. Do we have a second, please?
Vanderlyn, second.
Thank you. All right, we got a motion and a second on the table. Are there any questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, is anyone opposed to the motion? Okay, hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you. All right, that should bring us to item 5, report on mobilizing tomorrow update overview. Zach, are you able to talk to this one too, please?
Yes, thank you. We wanted to provide you with an update on where we're at with the update to mobilizing tomorrow. As I think most of you are aware, we have to update our long-range plan every 5 years. The last plan was updated in November of 2019, so we're due to have an update submitted by November of 2024. So last fall, we began work on this, mostly working on the model. So since November of 2022, we've been having monthly model meetings with Iowa DOT and HDR. We have HDR on a retainer to help us with the modeling, as well as doing some data collection. Next slide, please. As far as goals for this update, there are a couple of things that we're kind of targeting here. We're not looking at doing a complete overhaul of the existing plan. I think we all feel pretty happy with the majority of the things that are included in the existing plan. So we're not looking at completely overhauling it. We are just looking at doing a pretty straightforward update. We do want to continue to improve the readability and the conciseness of the plan. This is something that we really strive to do in the last update. And we do feel there is still room for some improvement here. So that's another thing that we're going to be looking at as we move forward with this update. Next slide. As far as the outline of the plan goes, it's going to remain pretty much consistent with what it was in the last plan. We'll have a number of main chapters and then some appendixes to back up those main chapters. So the first chapter will be the introduction, same as it was in the last plan. We are proposing that chapter 2 be a state of the transportation system. So this will include kind of what the current existing condition of our system is in the Des Moines region. Last year, this was in the appendix. We're thinking that it would be better to move this up into the main body of the plan as Chapter 2. Chapter 3 would be our goals, measures, and targets. Chapter 4 would be investment strategies. Chapter 5 would be a bicycle and pedestrian section. This is also something that would be new to this plan. We were discussing doing a standalone bike and ped plan for a while, and then we determined that we thought it would just be better to include a more robust section in our long-range plan addressing bike ped issues. So that's what we're proposing in this update. And then the final main chapter in the plan would be policies and best practices. For the appendix side of it, like I said, there'd be a number of appendixes that would back up this plan. These would remain pretty much consistent with what we've had in the past. We'd have one on the growth scenario. This would just kind of outline, how we approach the growth scenario and the numbers in that. A fiscal analysis to show the funding is available to do all the projects in the plan. A discussion of performance measures, a discussion of how our project selection process worked, environmental analysis, a congestion management process, our transportation demand model validation, and then an overview of the public engagement that we went through. So again, very consistent with what we had in the last plan update. And if you go to the next slide, just to give you an idea of kind of timeline and what we're looking at, we've broken this down by quarter. So here in the first quarter of 2024, we're looking at working on the model update. As I mentioned, we've been working on that since November, continuing to work on that and finalizing that in the next quarter. TAZ development, begin working on that. We're also in the process of working on our urban area boundary, which could potentially have an impact on our planning area boundary. So getting that finalized. We're working with the DOT on that. As far as draft chapters that we're looking at putting out during the first quarter here, we would probably look at having a draft of the performance measures out, as well as a draft of the goals, measures, and the targets for review. Moving on to the next slide, looking at second quarter of 24. As I mentioned, we'd be finalizing the model by the end of the year, finalizing the TAZs, and then start our project solicitation process. So sometime in that second quarter, we would send out a project solicitation to all the member governments and have them submit their projects to us for the long-range plan. And then draft chapters that we would be looking at would be the Appendix B, which would be the fiscal analysis, begin working on that and getting a draft out on that, and then have a draft of Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, introduction and the state of the transportation system. Moving on to third quarter of 24, this is when we would do our growth scenario process. In the past, we have done use a painting tool basically, and we've met with communities individually. I think we're planning on moving away from this approach. I think we'll send out the growth scenario numbers to each individual community along with their TAZs, and then just request that they put that information into the TAZs where they want to show their growth. Project review and finalization. So once we get all the projects submitted, we'll review all the projects that were submitted, and then draft chapters that we would be looking at in the third quarter would be the Appendix A growth scenario, Appendix D project selection process, finalizing the investment strategies chapter, and then also looking at Appendix G, our travel demand validation and the congestion management process as well. So moving on to the fourth quarter of 2024, finalizing our growth scenario, looking at the projects and finalizing them, as I mentioned before. And then the chapters we would be doing here would be our growth scenario chapter, project selection, finalization, looking at the best practices, and also the environmental analysis. So just finalizing all of those chapters listed there on the screen. Moving into the first quarter of 25, we would be looking at just doing overview of all the chapters that have been reviewed, finalizing those, and then working on the project or the chapter, the actual document development. So getting everything cleaned up in the document and having a final document to send out for public review and engagement there. The draft chapters we'd be looking at the very beginning of that first quarter would be the finalized version of the bike ped chapter, and then also the public engagement process chapter. So that's kind of an overview of what we would be looking at as far as what we're going to be working on in each quarter, just to give you an idea there. A couple of process changes that we're looking at is not using a steering committee for the development of this plan update. That would be a little bit different than what we've done in the past. Typically, we have a steering committee. There's a couple reasons why we're thinking this. One of them is that we have the $1 million comprehensive safety action plan that is also going to be happening concurrently with this. We feel it's very important that we have a steering committee to kind of guide the development of that plan, since it's a brand new plan. Since this long range plan update is just what we're proposing is just a pretty basic update, we just feel it's more important to focus our steering committee's time and efforts into that comprehensive safety action plan, as opposed to trying to either have two separate committees or trying to make that committee do double duty, since we feel that it'll be a lot of the same people that will need to be on that steering committee. So that's one proposal that we're making. We'd like to hear any feedback that maybe you have on that. We are going to take the same proposal to exec and policy and see if they have any thoughts on it. But that's kind of where we're sitting right now with how we're feeling as far as a steering committee for the long range plan. Based on not having a steering committee, we will be depending a little bit more on the technical committee to review chapters as we put them out. As we kind of reviewed with each of those quarters, the plan is to develop a chapter and put it out, and that way we're kind of reviewing it in chunks as opposed to trying to show a huge document to the committee all at one time. So this graph on your screen here tries to kind of illustrate the basic concept of what we're looking at, where staff develops a draft chapter. We send it off to the Iowa DOT for their review and comment. We incorporate any comments that the Iowa DOT has on each one of these chapters, and then we submit it to the technical committee for their review and comment. Incorporate those comments into that, and then we'll move it on to the policy approval, where we share that the drafts with the DOT comments and the technical committee comments included, put that out for public review, share it with the exec and policy committee, have it go through their approval process. And then once they've approved it, we would finalize those chapters into the document. So that's kind of the process that we're looking at, kind of an overview of timeline and where we see, each portion of the chapter being developed over the next 15 months or so. And so, yeah, I'd just like to open it up to any questions that you have, any concerns or comments. We'd appreciate hearing that from you today.
Thanks, Zach. Any questions for Zach? All right, here none. Thanks so much, Zach. Appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to item number 6, report on the fiscal year 2025 Iowa Clean Air Attainment Program pre-applications. Zach, are you able to talk to this one too?
Yes. So each year we collect applications, pre-applications for the Iowa Clean Air Attainment Program. The DOT awards these funds. We just filter them through the MPO, make sure that they match up with our long-range plan, and then we forward resolutions on to the project sponsors so they can include those in their final applications when they submit them to the DOT. So this year we've had 3 applications submitted. Ankeny's submitted for their North Ankeny Boulevard improvements, are requesting $1.9 million in ICAP funding. Polk County for traffic signal improvements, just under $350,000 for that project being requested. And then West Des Moines for their traffic and vehicle detection improvement. I believe this is the 3rd phase of that project, and they're requesting a little over $732,000 for that project. So those are the 3 projects that have been submitted to us. If you tended to submit for ICAP and you just didn't hit the deadline that we had on the 31st, please reach out to me and we can work something out, as the actual application deadline to the DOT isn't until October 1st. And I think if you go to the next slide, there is a timeline there that shows how the rest of the process will work. We will bring these back to the committees in September for recommendation to exec and policy. And then once they have been approved in September, we'll submit the resolutions on to the project sponsors. That way they can include those in their final applications, which are due to Iowa DOT by October 1st of 2023. So those are the 3 projects that were submitted to us. If you have any questions about the process, I'd be happy to take those questions at this time.
Thanks, Zach. Any questions for Zach? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Zach. All right, next that brings us to item 7, a report on upcoming events. Z, are you able to talk to that one, please?
You're stuck with me today.
Oh, okay, Gunner. All right, sounds good. Gunner, thank you.
But Z did instruct me to make sure we touched on the highlight or the bold underlined events here. So I'll make sure to mention the Climate Action Funding Fair for the Climate Pollution Reduction Program coming up later this month. That's online. Please note that all these events will be outlined in the post-meeting email with links. Iowa Trails Summit coming up in October. We also have the APA Upper Midwest Annual Conference coming up in October. And last thing to note is the Safe Routes to School Summit, also in October, this one being online. A few others up there for your consideration. All these will be outlined in the post-meeting email. Happy to take any questions you might have.
Thanks, Gunner. Any questions for Gunner? Okay, hearing none. That brings us to next item, item 8, other non-action items of interest to the committee. And then we have a few here. Upcoming grant deadlines. Dylan, are you able to talk to this one?
Yeah, thank you. There's a couple of grant deadlines that we think might be of interest to communities, and we wanted to make sure you're aware of them if you're not already. The first one is due here pretty quickly here. So apologies for not getting this out if you hadn't heard of this before, but there's the PROTECT grant. The PROTECT stands for Promoting Resilient Operations for Transformative, Efficient, and Cost-Saving Transportation. So PROTECT. This is really looking at hazard mitigation, flooding, extreme weather events, and how we can prepare our transportation infrastructure to handle those. The unique thing about this is that they have planning grants that are available, and I think it's a minimum of $100,000. That's 100%. There's no local match to that. So federal share is 100%. So we want to make sure we take advantage of that if there's interest. And then there's infrastructure grants that basically can implement or do projects to help address those same issues. The deadline of this, like I said, is coming up very quickly here on August 18th. If there's interest or if any communities are planning to apply that you need letters of support, anything like that from the MPO, please let us know. Unlike the Safe Streets for All and some of those others that we can kind of do, we'll obviously need the community's involvement, but they're more, things in our purview. This one, we really need the communities to be involved with those. So we don't want to just apply to it and not have discussed it or, kind of surprise anybody. So if there's interest in this, there is some time we can do something with that. So please let us know. There's another one, if on the next slide, this is the Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods. There's more time on this one. It's not due until end of September. This program is really focused on mitigating any past harm that might have been done by transportation infrastructure. So if you think of 235 came in and it displaced communities and neighborhoods, how do we resolve those? And you might have seen examples in other communities where they take out interstates or something like that. Not sure we have anything like that here that we could actually do, but we do want to put that out there. Similar to the other programs, there's a planning grant available that's 80% federal share. There's also a construction grant program that's 50% share. And then there's a more unique regional partnership challenge grant. And this is either 80% federal share, or if you're doing it in more of a lower income, environmental justice type of area, it can be 100% share. But there's only 3 to 5 of these that'll be awarded throughout the country, so very limited. But these get into more of how do we coordinate on issues such as land use, zoning, traffic civil coordination, and all the other things listed there. So again, if there's interest in this, please let us know. If communities want to get together, I should mention on both of these, What we've seen, and I think a best practice is if it's not just one community going after it, but if we can do it as a region, it's going to stand out better, similar to what we did with the EV infrastructure application we put in a month or two ago, where it was several projects from around the region, probably stands a better chance. Another final thing I wanted to hit on this, there's a new resource from AMPO, and that's the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations. So it's something we belong to. They put out a really nice grant tracker, and I'll put the link to it's on there on the screen. I'll put a link in the chat too. But you can kind of see what this looks like, where it's got a nice little board, tells you what's open, what's coming, what's already passed. You click on those links and it'll share all the information you ever want to know about it. So we'll provide that resource to you as well. There's no cost to it. You don't have to log in. You just go to that website and get the information you need. So that's what I have for you this morning. If there's any questions, please let us know. If we can help at all on these, please let us know. But otherwise, that's what we have.
Thanks, Dylan. Any questions for Dylan? Okay, hearing none, thank you. All right, and Dylan just posted the link to the tracker in the chat, so please take a look at that, everyone. All right, up next, we got Gunnar. Gunnar, you able to talk about the new website, please?
Gladly. And one quick note is we'll include that AMPO resource in the post-meeting email as well. We have a new website, and I want to give you a heads up that we are, I'll call this a soft opening. It just went live. It is a big improvement over the last one. You might recall that our last quadrennial review, the Federal Highways suggested that we improve our website. And this is probably a once a decade or more type of update. So I'd encourage you to go take a look, check it out. And if you find anything, like 95% of everything should be buttoned up, but there's a few little things that we're finding as we grow into the new website. So if you see something, please speak up and we'll make sure to address it quickly. A few things that I want to mention is we've told you about the new logo. That was so we could more easily scale it. And then I also want to say thank you. Several of you provided photos to us that we're able to use as a resource on the website. You'll probably see those represented there, and we have more that haven't been used but should be used again in the future. If this is a new or the same URL, so you should go directly to it. All the DNS records have been updated now, so you should go directly to the new website. One thing that we're anticipating is that if you're looking into old materials or old agendas, you might click a link that may no longer work for you. So if you ever encounter that, please reach out to staff and let us know. This is, like I said, this is a once in a decade type of update. This is just part of the process, nothing that we could really do about, but just to have that situational awareness. If you're having a broken link, please let us know. The other thing that we're doing in concurrence with the new website is we're implementing GovDelivery. I know that the Iowa DOT operates GovDelivery along with other state agencies, and I believe some of our local jurisdictions have GovDelivery as well. We're using this as a tool to manage the distribution of our agendas. That's its primary purpose. It will also be a place where you can sign up for newsletters or press releases. And the real big advantage here is that there's no staff time then being spent on managing when somebody requests to get to be on an agenda list. The other thing that I want to speak to you about is that this is going to be unrolled here in the next week or so. You'll be getting an introductory email from GovDelivery saying we're switching to the system. Please don't unsubscribe. I think that's the big thing for everybody on this is how we're going to distribute agendas. That allows us better public access to our meeting process. And so, but you could technically go in, manage your settings, and stop receiving agendas. We just ask you not to do that. That's it from me, unless I can answer any questions.
Thanks, Gunnar. Any questions on the new website or the new program GovDelivery? And Gunnar, do you think the email we would expect it this month then, or?
Yes, I expect it this month. In fact, it might be yet this week or most likely early next.
Okay. All right, so check your emails potentially in the next week or two. for gov delivery. So that's how agendas will be distributed, and possibly is there even September agenda might be distributed that way, or
Fate willing, yeah.
okay. Yeah. All right. Any questions for Gunnar? All right, hearing none. Thanks, Gunnar. All right, that brings us to item 9. Our next meeting date, September 7th, 2023, 9:30 your typical time. All right. That brings us to last item, item 10. This meeting is considered adjourned. Thanks, everybody.